What's up, everybody? My name is Chris, and this is my Bloodborne playthrough. Slash, talk about all the lore. Mostly lore. Not so much playthrough. I would not recommend doing what I do in most of these episodes. Because I'm not expert at this game. I'm alright at it, I guess. But I definitely fight way too offensively. I noticed. And I think in this episode, if you watch me, I play a lot different than I have in the other ones. You should never attack the enemy first, and I pretty much always attack the enemy first. I don't know, maybe it's just something ingrained in me from all the video games I've played, and this one being so much different. And I think that's what makes this game so great, though. It makes you change your style of how to play a video game. Anyways, enough about that, about all that little stuff. We're gonna get into it today. I don't know if I'm gonna even be able to get through all this stuff. I wrote down a lot of stuff. I write notes when I do these episodes, and it's because I look up stuff and I can't memorize everything. There'd be no way. But some like, I think last episode I thought I didn't have enough, and then I ended up kind of rushing the end a little bit. But this episode, hopefully that won't happen, and hopefully I get through it. So basically what's gonna happen in this one is I end up going through the gate of Byrgenwerth, or the gate that blocks Byrgenwerth, I should say. And I end up in a place called Forbidden Woods, which I wasn't expecting, actually. I was actually expecting that right behind the door was going to be Byrgenwerth. But I guess you could say I'm in the area of Byrgenwerth, and the Forbidden Woods, I guess, is what leads up to it. A quick note about the Forbidden Woods: it is a very, very confusing place. It's a very, how can I say, a maze almost. Especially if you start jumping around shortcuts and stuff. In fact, in this episode, you see me try to make a jump and I fall, and then I end up going through the area below the jump. And when I come back out, I'm almost like near the end of the area, and I have to backtrack because I know I can make that jump. So when I was backtracking, I'm backtracking through like the second half, I guess, of the second part of the Forbidden Woods, and it is just super confusing. So this episode is just gonna be like part one of the Forbidden Woods, I guess you could say, but it's actually really most of it. I think the next episode after this, I'll kind of just do some touch up on it, and then I'll head off to the boss right there, and then I may even who knows, the next area. I'm figuring you see a spot in this episode where I kind of overlook a cliff, and I'm thinking that's where I'm headed. It looks it's got a dome top. When first I saw it, I thought it looked like a planetarium, but after looking at it a little bit more, maybe more like a mosque. I don't know, it looked kind of like a mosque, maybe just some building, but it did look academic. So that's why I think automatically scholars, and I think Byrgenwerth. So that's where I'm thinking it's gonna be headed to. You see those windmills there? That's kind of the area I'm going to. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that whole area down there, I think, is the Forbidden Woods. And then I don't know if you can see it here, but we're gonna listen to Alfred here when we decide that we want to learn a little bit more about the Vile Woods, or Vile Bloods, Vile Woods.
There's something I want to tell you. A bit of wisdom from the eminent master Logarius. Once, a scholar betrayed his fellows at Byrgenwerth and brought forbidden blood back with him to Cainhurst Castle. It was there that the first of the inhuman Vile Bloods was born. The Vile Bloods are fiendish creatures who threaten the purity of the Church's blood healing. The ruler of the Vile Bloods is still alive today. And so, to honor my master's wishes, I search for the path to Cainhurst Castle.
So he talks about, I try to look right here to see if he says anything else about any other stuff, but it looked like he just repeated it. So, all right, Alfred, thanks for the tips. If you notice in Bloodborne, they like to show the faces off. You didn't really see faces in Dark Souls. They usually had like the helmets on and whatnot, but in this game they like to show them off. So, all right, Alfred, thank you for that tidbit about the Vile Bloods. I don't think we met one yet, or we've never been to Cainhurst, so I don't know where that's at. Maybe some exploration will get me there. But real quick on this door right here, this is the door that's blocking Byrgenwerth, and you need the password. You have to beat Vicar Amelia if you're just joining us. I think I did that last episode, so You have to beat her, and then when you beat her, you go through that cutscene, and the cutscene tells you what the old adage is, so you're able to get through there. And then when you knock on the door, someone is asking for a password, and then when you get through it, the guy's already dead. So kind of strange, just like a little strange thing going on there. You learn a little bit more about that guy, just a very, very little bit more about him here pretty soon. For a while, I thought going through this, he might have been Lawrence, because of an item you get here, and I get it at the end of this area, at the end of this episode actually, and it kind of explains a little bit that there were these two people that were, did it say servants? I want to say it said servants, but it may have said something else, of Willem, and that one of them, they both like, did it, when we get to it, we'll talk about it. I'm trying to remember what the item description said, and I used the video for the item description. I don't have it on my notes, so I'm trying to remember what it said. I'm trying to remember if it said servants and if it said that they betrayed him or not. I'm not 100% sure if it said either one of those words in there, so we'll just wait on that. When we get there, we'll talk about it. But the old adage is that you need to fear the old blood. Just a very, very strange adage. Like why would you have that as your adage, but yet you guys were doing all this stuff? So there's some things going on, like maybe Willem knew better than to mess with it, because he knew that they weren't going to be able to control it or whatnot, and that they needed more power maybe to control it. So and that's kind of where I'm going, because if you look at the cutscene, he didn't like it, right? He's telling Lawrence, hey, you got to remember, you can't just waltz all up in Bergenworth and think you're going to become all powerful and stuff. So I'm thinking Willem either wanted to avoid it and didn't want to do it at all, but yet again, he was the what do they call him, the oh my god, provost of the academy, or of the city, or whatever you want to say. So he was kind of the head guy, so he's kind of the one that, you know, may have built upon and wanted to study this, but he also knew maybe how dangerous it was. So he knew that either they needed to become better people, more knowledgeable themselves before they could understand this, or that he didn't want to deal with it at all. And that's kind of where the old adage comes from, the fear of the old blood, because the old blood is what ultimately I think leads to understanding what the eldritch truth is. Because as we know, eldritch truth is now a pronoun, and it is something, right? Whether it's a physical something or a metaphysical something, it's something. So, and I think Willem was afraid of it and what it could do. So, but I think that also made him mad. So maybe he did some crazy stuff too, to also maybe wanting to learn what it is, because they all seem to want it in some way. So that's kind of where the old adage comes from. Now, as you see, we entered the Forbidden Woods. It is forbidden. Not anymore. We kind of just trounced right up in here. You get a lamp right off the bat. And I would like to... I love this. I really like this area. I really like it because it's very open. And in that aspect, if you play a lot of other games, especially games with forest areas, most of them... It's actually a very linear area. It just has lots of trees around the sides and stuff like that to make it look more open. And it kind of, when you start playing it, you feel like you're in the woods because visually it looks that way, but in reality, when you're playing it, you don't feel that way, right? I think one game that isn't like that, besides this one, this is why I brought it up, is like Metal Gear. I think Metal Gear 3 had a very good like wood sense, kind of what a forest would feel like, and this game's very much like that too. This area is very big. It is very confusing, and it's confusing because of how big it is and how you can go in any direction almost. There are things that do block your boundary sooner or later, but you're pretty much open in a forest, which is what it's supposed to be like. But because it's so open like that, it's also very confusing, and in this game, confusing can easily lead to death, because it just leads to enemies being everywhere. I want you to watch real closely right here, because when I came through here, I didn't know that this was this, and later on in the episode, you see me hit one, and look how close I come to actually hitting this freaking trap on the ground. I walk, and then I stop, and then I walk, and then I stop because I thought I saw something. And then I'm like standing right on, and I swear to you, I did not know there was a trap right there. I turned because I wanted to look at these graves, and we're going to talk about these in a second. If you look at that real quick, let's talk about it in general. Let's not focus. Just look at what I'm looking at right here. Look at those symbols on that grave. Look at those imprints. Look at the different kind of graves. Basically, the tombstones here, it seems like there's three kinds. It looks like there's like a human tombstone, you know, just for the regular like people. Then there's those small round ones that kind of look like eggs. I'm not saying they're eggs, I just say they're oval. How about that? But to me, the first thing I thought they were eggs. I'm like, those look like eggs, aliens. But you got those tombstones, and then later in this area, further and deeper in, you get these massive tombstones, these huge, like, monolithic tombstones. And I was just like, okay, there's a lot of different things going on here, right? So I don't know if it's really alluding to this or not, but you got your human tombstones, which for humanity, for humans that exist. Then you got your little alien tombstones, maybe for this, like, I don't want to say for the slugs, because that sounds retarded. But then again, anything could be going on in this game. But, you know, for something else, right? Let's just go with that. Maybe it's a great one, because we've talked about infinite great ones. Maybe they're the graves for that. And then maybe the massive ones is some integration of the Eldritch Truth and humanity, and then that's kind of what you get. So you got like beast, human, and like just, I'm thinking three different things, right? What are they though? You know, and that's the only three you see. You don't really see anything in between that. And then as I was looking at the graves, as you saw me looking through that telescope, the first thing I saw hunter marks on some of the tombstones, which is at the top. The hunter mark looks like the peace sign, basically. If you get, what was funny was when I first looked, I go, why is there a peace sign on there? And then it really jumped on me. I was like, oh, that's right, that's the hunter mark. So these are tombstones of maybe hunters, right, that have existed before the dream world, or before when Bergenworth, or maybe when Gurmon was around, because remember he was one of the first hunters, before maybe even the church. So, or maybe that sign means something else and the hunters picked it up, and we're getting kind of a little connection between what that sign actually means, and not necessarily is it just a hunter's mark, but it could mean something else. What that is not yet known. We may find it somewhere else that helps us figure that out a little bit more. The other thing was, like I said, the imprints on the back. What it looks like is if you took one of those statues from Yargul or from the Grand Cathedral, remember those creepy statues with the I want to say alien face or Lovecraftian face, but the face that with the mesh looking face, right? If you took one of them and just slammed it into the stone and imprinted it, that's what it kind of looked like to me. What I guess a good description of that is like a peanut shell. That's what it really looks like. It looks like a peanut shell, and that it looks like they planted it right there. This area right here in this forest really interested me, because all of a sudden these dead flowers turned into living flowers. And when I first walked through here, I didn't actually recognize them until I was going back through my recording, and I was taking notes about what I want to talk about. And I noticed, I was like, why is this area so lit up with flowers? I don't remember any other area in the forest like that. And then I also noticed right here, some of these tombstones, not necessarily that one, maybe a little later. There's some tombstones that are lit like weird colors. But no, right here, when you come out, look at this. Why are these flowers alive? One of the things I thought it was, maybe it's just level design, so you have some point of reference because of how big it is. They're not going to like make you just get completely lost, so it kind of gives you an idea of where you're at. You can come back and be like, oh, this is a bed of flowers, you know, something to recognize where you're at. But then I was like, I don't know, that might be true, that might be part of the reason why it's there. Maybe it has no lore reference. And then I stared at the flowers a little bit, not in the game, but I paused the video and I looked at them for a bit, because like I said, I didn't really notice it until I was recording, and I was like, I can't really pinpoint exactly what kind of flower they are. The closest thing I got, now if someone knows what it is, please tell me, you know, because that'd be awesome to figure out, you know, if there's some symbolism with it or whatnot. But from what I found, or what I think they look like this is funny, they look like yellow irises, and that's very, very strange for this game. Symbolically, I don't think irises have any meaning, but I think they're using the word iris for the eye thing, right? And remember, we talked about eyeballs last episode too. This game is fascinated with them for some reason. They seem to hold some power in this game. Everything, you got eyes on, you got insight that this is where I found out the trap. It scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh god, what's going on? That Cthulhu was attacking. But yeah, so you got, you know, everything in this game, it just starts to come with sight, right? You got insight, you got eyeballs that are being collected by both people from Yargul and from from the witch from Hemwick. You got bottles of eyes. You got what else we got? We got just eyes everywhere. That symbol, I think, in the church, it looks like an eye, even though that's bullshit. I don't know if I'm making that up, though. But, you know, there's just eyes everywhere. And even the description, what I was going to say is even the description of the umbilical cord had on the bottom that the inside is on the eyes on the inside, right? So there's all these things to do with eyes. And these yellow, what I think look like yellow irises, I don't know what they technically could be. As you notice, in most areas they're dead, but that one area they were alive. But if you look really closely here, they're there too. They're just not alive, or they don't look alive. They look dead. But that one area they were alive. So I don't know if that means anything. Like I said, I think that might have just been a design choice, just so you had a point of reference of where you're at. But at the same time, it looks like they used irises, so I think that's very keeping with the theme of the eyes going on. But it seems like eyes have some kind of power in this game, whether it's they've been lied to and they really don't have any power and they're just digging these up for some reason, or is it that when you gain more insight, and as you gain more and more and more and more, and you become more quote unquote insightful in this game, I guess, you actually grow eyeballs, like, you know, physically on your body in different places, because you start understanding the truth? Or are they using them so they can see what the truth is better, or understand it better? It's hard to tell. And like, and is it the way that I said, where, you know, as you get, I just want to say smarter, right? But as you understand it more, you grow eyeballs? Or is it that you have to dig them off people and put them on yourself, kind of like the witches? What's the method behind this? Is blood ministration the beginning of this, and then now they also know how to do eyeball ministration? like how do they attach these things themselves? So there's a lot of weird things going on, but eyeballs seem to be taking precedent right now in this part of the game. Maybe they'll start going away from that after they kind of think they've explained it to you, but for right now, it seems like they're really focused on this eyeball and what it means. It's just something to keep an eye. Oh, God. I just realized what I was about to say right there. It's something to keep an eye out for. Puns. Hilarious. Wow. So, kind of going back to the level design. This is one of the few areas in the game that I've seen so far where, like I said, I like this area, so don't think I'm hating on it, but it just kind of seems like they were like, we need a place before the next place, and they kind of was like, well, let's make this forest and plop it, you know. Here's a forest, right? Though they made a very interesting and great looking forest and a very good level design for a forest, it just seems like it's one of the few areas where I'm just like, they kind of put this here just to like give you something else to do before you get to the next thing, which is fine with me, right? And it just seems that way. And like I was talking about earlier, like just the forest is just very interesting in itself. All the little assets of it, and we're going to try to talk about that. Again, there's like a small village here, and I'm running through it right now. A lot like Hemwick was a little bit of a village, so it kind of seems like we're on the outside. And if you remember, I think the tombstones that lead to both those areas is called the Frontiers Tombstone. So we're not in Yarnum anymore, we're on the Frontier, so right outside of it. Is basically what I'm guessing from that. So kind of giving you a little bit of a location in your brain where everything's at is always good, because it kind of helps you, I don't know, to me it always helps me kind of settle my mind so I can understand other things better. Because sometimes when I'm trying to figure stuff out and then I'm just in my mind, I'm like, I don't even know where I'm at. Like, you know, physically I don't even know what's going on, where I'm at. That kind of just throws me off. So at least getting a grasp of where you're at and what you're doing is always good, especially when it comes to trying to figure out lore. We talked about the tombstones. It's just very just strange. Like I said, it seems like 3 different life forms. Could be more, could be less. I could be just, you know, again, not making stuff up, but, you know, just inferring things wrong. But that's kind of what it seems like to me. The smaller ones are the ones that are weird. The big ones to me would be like the great ones, or former great ones, or a merge between humans and something else that created the bigger ones, right? Because they're kind of like what the size of, like, let's say those statues are the real size of what they are depicting, right? The peanut heads. Let's say that, yeah, that would probably be a good size for the tombstone then, that we're gonna see soon. And then, yeah, then you have the human tombstones, which are normal size, I think, for a human, and then you have those little small ones that have like a little imprint on them, and it's just a very strange looking object. Like, I'm still don't know exactly, is that an egg, is that an oval shape? All those things do have stuff to do with like life and fertility, but I can't make that inference because I really don't even know what that oval shape is. It looks like it really looks like a paw print of some kind of like monster is on the stone, but again, I just have no idea. The smaller one is the one that really confused me. Underneath the Forbidden Forest is a big poisonous lake, and if you look in the lake, there's a bunch of like really big bodies and very like, I hate to use the word alien because I don't want to infer that they are aliens, but just very different looking bodies. And I'm like joyful because this just reminds me of Dark Souls 1 and everyone's love for a shanty town, or that shitty ass town that lowered your FPS and poisoned the shit out of you and just pissed you off more than anything else. So welcome back to that. So I ran away from that. I was like, I'll deal with that later. I don't want to deal with that. The other thing to note in there was you got to really see the first. If you went that way, that would be the first time you got to see a really big gravestone, and it was kind of highlighted. There were a couple things in that area that was highlighted by the moonlight in that cave that was hitting it. And if you look up here, the moon right there, you got to see a quick glimpse of it, isn't very bright in this area. If eyeballs is one of the things that they're really portraying, the moon is the other thing in this game right now, is really like throwing at you. And in this area, it seems to be clouded up, which I don't know if that means anything or not, but it's just there, like, no, because everywhere else the moon is like very brightly lit. White church hat. We got some new armor here. These doctors are superiors to the black preventative hunters and specialists in experimentally backed blood administration and scourge of the beast. They believe that medicine is not a means of treatment, but rather a method for research, and that some knowledge can only be obtained by experimentation, or by exposing oneself to sickness while as well. So they're the superiors to the guys in the black, and you see these guys. I think they're most notably seen when you see those really big giants. Those would be some of the white doctors. You see, I think, some of them in the cathedral area wear the white robes, and then you have the guys wearing the black robes. Or the black robes actually look more bluish sometimes in the game, to me anyways. That might be just because the moonlight's hitting it or whatnot. But you do have both kinds, and it seems like the white ones, and I think that's why you have the big giant white ones, because they might mess with their blood a little bit too much. And from that item description, it seems like that their thought of fixing things was to see if they could fix themselves first, maybe, and then administer that to patients, instead of what the black church guys were doing. They were basically just killing people before they could affect anyone else. So we get another item here that's brand new. It's called the Blue Elixir. It's a dubious liquid medicine used in strange experiments conducted by high ministers of the Healing Church, a type of anesthetic that numbs the brain. Hunters able to retain consciousness by force of will make use of a secondary effect of the medicine, which dilutes their presence while standing still. Second paragraph really just describes what it does. So basically, I get it's a stealth item. Makes you invisible, maybe harder to target, things like that. But that first, I love the word dubious. It's a great word. Dubious. It's a dubious liquid held by high ministers of the high church. It really, I mean, the biggest thing I guess to take away from that item description is it's an anesthetic that numbs the brain. But I think it's more about where you find it. I believe it's a drop. It's a very low drop, but it comes off the white guys, the white guys. It comes off the white church guys, and it might be a very low drop for the black ones, but it's a better drop for the white church guys. So it just shows that maybe that's how they would administer their medicine or whatnot to different people around the place. It's basically saying that they had to numb them first before applying it. Also maybe showing that the patients were willing to let them do it, you know, instead of you wouldn't think you'd maybe find a knife or something, maybe like a numbing knife, because they would have to sneak up on them and do it. But this is an elixir. Elixirs are meant to be drunk. And we find another item right here before I continue with that thought. Beast Roar, one of the forbidden hunter tools made by Irreverent Ezzy, Borrow the strength of a terrible undead dark beast, if only for a moment, to blast surrounding foes with the force of a roaring beast. The indescribable sound is broadcast with the caster's own vocal cords, which begs the question, what terrible things lurk deep within the frames of men? We'll talk about that in about 2 seconds, but first, that elixir. Like I said, it's a blue elixir. It's not like elixirs are meant to be drank. And so that tells me that it wasn't something forced upon anybody, that it was something that people wanted. So these church hunters, or these preventative church hunters, I think is what they call them, were not necessarily wanted, but they were used maybe to heal people from the scourge of the beast. It's still hard to make all the connections in this game, and I was thinking about it today. I was like, how do you go from Bergenworth and finding this eldritch truth and this old blood underground in a labyrinth to where now you have a scourge of the beast? I mean, you can make a simple connection there and just say, you know, what they found underneath and gave the scourge of the beast to the city, but there seems to be a lot more time in there than just that. You know, it's not like, you know, it's not like they found it and then the scourge happened. It seems like they found it, some bad stuff happened at Bergenworth, they locked it up. Yharnam occurred somewhere in there, whether it was while it was going on or Bergenworth and Yharnam existed at the same time. Then Yharnam decided to take whatever Bergenworth learned and did it in their city, and that ended up creating the Scourge of the Beast and Hunters. But I think Hunters play a little bit more of a role than just what it seems like they are right now. And I'm not saying that beforehand they didn't play much of a role at all, but I'm saying that I think they're more than just people that hunted beasts. I think there's something special about Hunters that we don't know about, whether they're all pale bloods, whether they're all suitable hosts for being great ones. I don't know what that thing is yet, but that's what I'm kind of talking about. I'm thinking that hunters are very special people. They're not your everyday person who can go out and be a hunter. Like, there has to be something special about them, whether it is they're able to withstand the scourge more than others, or they're able to use the power of the scourge because they have a different set of blood in them. They're different people. They're not necessarily just humans. Maybe they're the ones that are morphed. And in here, I think pretty soon we see an item that talks a little bit about. It's called. I think I find it. It's called. It's the Metamorphosis rune, and you'll see a description in there, and we'll talk a little bit more about it when we get there. But it kind of goes in depth, you know, about a little bit about kind of maybe what the scholars were trying to do. So the Beast Roar, back to that lovely thing. It talks about another guy. So we have Archibald, and now we have Irreverent Izzy. We have Ludwig. We have Grimon. We have all these different hunters. I don't actually think it said Izzy was a. It said he was a. Well, it said he made Forbidden Hunter tools. So I guess that kind of just forces him to be a hunter. I opened this shortcut right here, which I'll be using here pretty soon, and but it says, you know, he made these forbidden hunter tools, and more than likely they were forbidden because they resembled beasts, and it seems like anything that resembled beasts or has to do with beasts were forbidden, like automatically, especially for hunters. So this one was called the Beast Roar. It looked like the hand of a wolf. The item did anyways, and basically what it said is it basically used your force to blow back enemies, but it used the force of undead dark beasts. So we've met dark beasts already. We met dark beast Parl, and then pretty soon here we're about to meet another dark beast, probably one of the cooler looking enemies in the game, at least especially to me. And this guy that I'm about to meet coming up has a crazy awesome voice. Like, his voice is just awesome. I don't know, I wasn't expecting it to be so good, but it's really good voice for him. And when I heard it, I was like, ooh, I like that voice. So be ready for that. That's coming up actually relatively quick here. And then it says the sound is created by the user, and that's what it says in the item description. It says the sound's created by the person. That kind of questions what lies in the framework of men, right? So in other words, you know, this beast may not be necessarily something coming from coming from a disease, like think like a werewolf, right? You have to have this werewolf blood in you or whatever. You have to be bitten or whatever it takes to be a werewolf. Like, you have to have something happen to you, and then you get that inside you. But in reality, what that description means is saying that this is already inside of everyone. It's just whatever you're getting, like let's say the blood administration, whatever's happening to them is what's causing them to change. So that's the way I'm going to take that, right? So now I'm realizing that, okay, so everyone has a beast inside them, right? And doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a werewolf. Right now there's a bunch of different types of beasts, so maybe not. But maybe that also has to do with how much otherworldly knowledge you have. Maybe there's multiple reasons or things that have to deal with that. But I think all this is inherent in people, and it's the blood that draws it out, right? And this blood is from things called the Great Ones, and those Great Ones are trying to find their next suitable host. That's kind of linear thinking that I'm having right now, and again, it can change, but for right now that kind of seems to be the simplest thought path for me about how this all makes sense. Whether that changes and what happens coming up may change all of that, but and like I said, I don't know where to put eyeballs into that little theory and stuff like that. So maybe eyeballs help you realize the true beast or the true knowledge, so that you don't turn into a beast or you meld into like a human beast form, and that's how you get these crazy looking monster alien things. I don't know, right? It's still, the eyeball thing is just out there, and I know it's there. And then also this thing about the moon and what Yargul's trying to do. They're trying to summon something, and Pale Bloods, right? So these are all questions still, but that linear path of thought will help me maybe sooner or later figure out how to fit these questions into there and make it all make a sense sooner or later. Hopefully. Or I could be at the end going, have my mouth open and looking at it going like, what the F are you talking about, game? What? Yeah, so who knows how it's gonna end, but hopefully I can figure out something, and then definitely at the end of my playthrough, I'm gonna try to put a video out where I try to explain it in a very, very easy and understandable way. Hopefully, if I can make it that way. Maybe FromSoft made it too hard for me, and I won't be able to do that, but that's what my hopes are for. It may be, like I said, I think I talked about this last, it may be multiple parts, it may just be one, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure it's going to be multiple, because I don't think I can fit everything in one unless I talk for like 2 hours, but we'll see. But yeah, hopefully it won't be too hard to make either, and I can actually get all this stuff together. So I'm now I killed that guy inside that building right there without actually knowing what it was. That is the weirdest freaking tool he has. It's one of those things you drag, I think, along a cart to like hoe the ground. That's what that looks like. That, or it's a big comb for his furry head. But I'm pretty sure it's the thing you drag along the cart. Like horses would drag along, or mules would drag along behind them to like break up the ground. Again, signifying this like maybe a little. So right there, if you look off the edge in the distance, you see the dome thing. This is what I'm talking about here. I look off and I see that, and then I'm like, I'm trying to get my stupid, I think, binocular out. And I see that in distance, and I'm like, that's probably where I'm headed, right? Again, there's water involved. When we found that ruin called Lake, so water is involved over there. We're looking at, and what I'm thinking is Bergenworth, and I think that's where the Forbidden Forest is going to sooner or later lead. But the other thing to take note is that area doesn't look that massive. Like, I don't think it's going to be as big as this, so that's why I really think this area was kind of thrown in, because I think they may have, I don't know how they made the game, but this is my thought process, that they probably made Bergenworth first, and then they realized it's not a very huge area, or they didn't want to make it a huge area, so they were like, well, we got to put in a bigger area before it, so they kind of threw in Forbidden Forest, just to give you something to do before you got to Bergenworth, and they unraveled more of the plot, because that seems like it's going to be a big plot unraveler at that point. Now that enemy, like I said, I fought inside that building, not the wolf thing I fought outside, but inside that building I fought him, and I killed him before he actually transformed. But he's the first one you really see transform, if you don't kill him like I did, into a snake-headed human thing. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit more, but right now I'm about to find this guy right here, and you can talk to him. He's not aggroed to you immediately. However, he's doing some naughty things over here. Some very, very naughty things. If you look at him, he's next to barrels of poison. You find like 6 or 7 poison knives before you even get to him. That's what made me thought to even use the knives on him, which you'll see me use there in a minute. I'm like, maybe I should just, I always have an idea that game developers will put things next to things you're supposed to use, right? So if you ever get a new item in an area, you should try using that item either on the boss or on yourself before you fight something, but on something, right? But definitely think about using it. If it doesn't do anything, it doesn't do anything, right? Nothing lost, except maybe that one item. But if you do find something worth it, like I do here, it's totally worth doing then. Yeah, and later I look up what you can actually do with this guy. There's multiple things you can do. One is you can, like I said, you could send him to Adon Church and have him chill there. You can send him to Iosefka's clinic, which I haven't actually done in this game, but I did in my other one. If you go back and talk to Iosefka, you can actually get another safe haven you can send people to. So you end up with 2 places you can send people to. Other than that, I don't know anything else. Look how cool he sounds. So he's kind of ridiculing us and telling us, God, he looks so cool. I don't know, the lightning and the first stuff looks just awesome on the Dark Beast. He also doesn't look like Dark Beast Parl, right? He kind of looks like a metamorphosis between a human and a Dark Beast. So that should also tell you maybe a little bit of something about him. The other thing is, he's yelling at you saying that you have more bloods on your hand than I do. And while he was sitting over there eating people, he's saying you have way more blood on your hands as a hunter. Something interesting to think about. Because remember, if you, who was it? Remember the hunter in Old Yarnum? He yells at you, telling you that leave this place be. You know, these guys aren't doing anything. Just let us go. Kind of remind you that maybe these are just, these are regular people that you're killing. These are people that ultimately turned, but they are people, and maybe they will turn back. If you believe in like the werewolf thing, all you have to do is wait till the moon goes away, and then they'll turn back into human, right? So I think maybe something like that might happen during this full moon. During the hunt is when all these monsters come out, and this is a time to hunt these things and hunt these beasts, because we don't want them among us as a society. I don't know, something like that. Get a quick drink here, man. I'm dying of thirst talking. Talk a lot here, talk a lot during work. But as you can see, all you have to do is throw 1 poison knife and he gets poisoned. It doesn't even take more than 1, it takes 1. Then you can just sit here and be a jerk to him. I thought it would be really funny if I taunted him and he hit me right there. If you get him, once you get him down to half, he starts talking again. That's a very interesting line. You call me a beast? A beast? Like he's like, just like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm not the beast, you're the beast. And he's also saying that that I didn't want to be like this. This wasn't my choice. This just happened to me. That's very interesting. Why? Well, is it because of the experiments the healing church was doing? Blood administration? Because he wanted to be healed from the plague? Are those the reasons? Maybe. Here's something I actually just kind of thought of. Maybe being healed from the ashen blood and the plague is, I don't know. Well, that wouldn't make sense because it's called the Scourge of the Beast. But I don't know. I don't know. There's kind of, I don't know if there's play on words with that or what. That maybe being cured from the ash. Remember, it was ashen blood or ashen sickness, ashen blood sickness. That if you look at antidote, is what ultimately caused the Scourge of the Beast. But it never really says that is the Scourge of the Beast, right? It just says it's caused the Scourge of the Beast. So maybe there was something killing people, and the only way to get rid of it was by turning people into these hybrid beings, right? But at nighttime, or at a full moon or whatever, the people would turn into beasts and maybe never turn back, or they would cause rampant. So they needed to create hunters to kill them. And the hunters are able to withstand turning into beasts, but ultimately, yeah, they're killing just innocent people at this time. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. I might have to think about that thought and look at those item descriptions a little bit more. I just kind of thought of it right now. But maybe not. Maybe like I said, maybe the ashen sickness isn't directly related to the Scourge of the Beast. It's what caused the Scourge of the Beast, because the Scourge of the Beast is what cured the ashen sickness. You know, and that thing was what was ultimately destroying everybody in the city. So they had to go to this new blood administration, which now caused people to be half beast and half whatever their innards are and half outside. So we got the cannon. This thing is freaking awesome. It's basically just a big cannon. And it says such a monstrosity was doomed from the start, and indeed its development was cut short. Yet against impossible gigantic foes, it might just be the thing. It's made by the hunter group that weren't supposed to be making stuff like this. They were called Workshop Heretics, and they were called Powder Kegs, and they actually make some other weapons you'll see later on. I think on my other game I found a rifle spear in Old Yarnum by running around like a maniac. I found one with him, so then that thing was also made by the Powder Kegs. You can get that relatively early, like that was like episode 3 or 4 or something like that, so it's possible to get that there too. I never got it in this game because by the time, like I said, I played that game after this one, and that one's kind of like me exploring and using different weapons and stuff. So if I find a cooler weapon, I'll use it in here. And I've experimented with all the weapons in that game pretty much, and I just really like the axe still. I think it's really one of the better weapons. I've messed with Ludwig's Holy Sword, and that was alright. That was pretty fun. So here you get a good glimpse of the guys with the snake heads. Kind of creepy, you know. A lot of the enemies in this game, I don't know why they remind me of Resident Evil 4. I don't know what it is, but they do. He just like annihilated me. I just think I didn't expect him to be so quick. Now, if you look at his model design, those snakes look like they're coming out of his eyes. Again, the eye stuff. Why? It was his eyes taken away from him and the snakes grew there. I don't know. But the number one thing I think I really want to talk about these snake enemies is historically, people look at snakes and they think automatically like poisonous and scary and, you know, weird things like that, right? But historically in society, especially even if you look at our medical symbol, the cross or the serpents along the flagpole, not flagpole, but like a staff in the middle, and you have the serpents around it. There's a reason why serpents are that, and that's because serpents really represent fertility, creative life force. They're also symbols of rebirth, transformation, immortality, and healing. So again, you get serpents and healing, you got slugs and healing. Snakes in this game almost symbolically mean the same thing as the slugs that I was talking about earlier. Except that, you know, snakes also exhibit transformation and immortality. So that's kind of I think an interesting thing, especially in this area. It's just something to think about, right? Why would they put snakes here? They could have put a bunch of other things here. They could put any kind of animal, really. You know, why not eagles? I don't know. Like, was it because snakes fit force very well, or is it because they really wanted something symbolically representing both something scary and obviously enemy-like, but at the same time, something that symbolizes what they're trying to get through in the lore of the game? And I think they're very meticulous about doing this the right way. So I wouldn't put it past them to maybe even have that established the same way. Why they now see, like, this guy was the guy I killed that I never let turn into a snake. Do I let him here? Oh, nope. Do I? If you don't let him transform, then you'll never see. Like, I didn't really get a look at his face, see if his eyeballs or whatnot, but they come out of the head. So again, we have something bursting out of the skull, like in the madman's knowledge, right? So these people are going mad. They're going mad with otherworldly knowledge that makes snakes grow. It's weird making the connection between otherworldly knowledge and creatures growing out of you. And that's the part, like, you're talking about this eldritch truth, and then you're talking about in madman's knowledge and people going mad, and then all of a sudden things bursting out of their freaking head. So I don't know, that connection is that's a little rough. It's a little rough there, but hopefully something will make sense. Maybe it has to do with eyeballs. I can just hinge everything onto eyeballs and I'll probably be right. I'll probably be good. This is one of the major shortcuts of the area. It lets you get to that down area. It lets you skip basically that village area, and then there's another one coming up that basically lets you skip right to where seems to be the end of the level. or the end of the area. So it's really awesome. At this point, I have 70,000 souls, the most souls I've had in the game so far at one time. So I'm like, I gotta go spend this, because if I don't, I am gonna lose it all. And then we'll be in some trouble for sure. So we haven't met another enemy yet in this area who's yeah, when we meet him, I'll read the note I have on my my notes over here, and hopefully you get a kick out of that, because I do every time I look at it. I think it's hilarious looking. Let's see, anything else about anything? Oh, I don't know if I talked about. Oh, in that underground poison lake, like I said, it shined moonlight on different areas of it, and one of them was a big grave, and there was an item in front of it, but I didn't go over and get it because I was too scared of dying, and I didn't want to die in that area and have to run back there. So I was like, I'll definitely check that out later. So don't worry, I'll head back over there. But then I think if you noticed in that area, and if you notice at the beginning of this video, moonlight seems to make those big white giant hunter looking morph things, it makes it seem like they go to slumber. So that's interesting. If you go back to and I confirmed this in my other game, if you go back to the like the Grand Cathedral, and you go out to that area around the graveyards, both of the big white giants there are kneeling. The white giant in front of the Grand Cathedral is kneeling, so they're all kneeling when the moon came out. During the day, though, early in the game, during the day they were running around and just walking and just kind of doing whatever they wanted to do. So it's very interesting to try to figure out why at night is it calming them down. Like, what is it about nighttime? Just to those guys, everyone else seems to be about the same, but those guys seem to take a knee at night or during the moon. Something to like just keep in the back of our heads, I guess, because who knows? Maybe there's a meaning to it, maybe not. Yeah, I definitely leveled up a lot here, I think, which is good, because I think I needed it, especially in the area I was in. It seemed like I was having a little bit of trouble taking down some of the guys, and my defense was a little bit low because I was getting hit pretty tough. So it was probably a good time to level up. But as you notice, you get a lot of souls there. Might be a good place to just kind of run around and grind, because especially, well, I would do that only after I open up the shortcut. Once you open up the shortcut, then I would just kind of run around and grind stuff there. They give a lot of souls, so you might be able to get to like 60. If you grind really well, you might be able to get to 70, and that should get you a good head start into the middle to the end of the game, because I think this is probably going to be the middle. I think Byrgenwerth will be the middle, because that seems to me be the next like huge plot point, right? And if you're making a story, you kind of want things to swing from there. So maybe a little bit after in the middle. I don't know. Maybe I'm only a quarter way through the game. I hope so. Hope this game lasts forever. That's when you know you have a good game, when you want to play it and you're just like, I don't want this game to end. I just want it to keep going. So definitely this is one of those games. I'm just like, just don't end. Just keep having monsters. But that's what the Chalice dungeons are for. Super excited to get into that, especially after I beat this game, because I'm hoping there might be even more lore stuff down there, which I think there's, because I think ritual items give some lore away, so you'll get some stuff there. But maybe there might be some other things, maybe some visual stuff down there, different types of enemies, the bosses even, because I think the boss of the one I did for the episodes on here was like the watchdogs of the old lords or something like that, which is kind of interesting. Like, you know, what is it guarding? Also interesting thing is if people like the scholars of Byrgenwerth will run around down there trying to find stuff, like how maybe that's why the hunters were created. Maybe the hunters were created to explore the labyrinth. Aha. Maybe that's the whole reason hunters even exist to begin with. And then they realized sooner or later that as they went further down the labyrinth, the bigger the monsters got, and Gurmon wasn't needed anymore, or his tactics, I should say, weren't needed anymore, and they needed to fight bigger and better things. So they had to kind of go with Mr. Ludwig and his designs, and ultimately that's how they ended up going with him. And then they found out that they may even need bigger than that because their own city now is getting F. So I don't know, just kind of a quick, it's not 100% speculation, there's good reasoning behind it, but we don't really know. You know, we know Gurmon was the first hunter, so we know that much, and he could have been the one leading the scholars down there, and he was the one killing everything, because the labyrinth ain't empty. It's filled with a lot of stuff, including bosses. So Mr. Grumman was a badass down there, just wrecking those bosses, getting those scholars to the old ones, or the great ones, brain power, and then that's kind of where everything started. So I don't know, this is a thought, an idea, something just throw out there. These serpent things are super easy to kill. I think one of like the easiest enemies in the game. If you look at these huge tombstones, though, this is now where you're like in basically the part of the forest where you see the peanut head things everywhere. Looks like they're like growing. Like the stones that were there now are bigger and growing into those. Like almost like the stones themselves are alive. Which is weird, but not completely weird, because if you remember, this is not tying this game to anything, but if you remember like Dark Souls and the whole idea of the stone dragons and stuff like that, it wouldn't be the first time FromSoft tried to make stone seem like it could live. So maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe those stones are growing because they're full of knowledge. They're full of eldritch, succulent eldritch knowledge inside of those stones. So who knows? It could just be the way things are just made in this area. But there are a lot of big ass tombstones, and what's weird about these tombstones is on one side it looks like a bunch of lettering, like a regular human tombstone, and then the back side is a bunch of like carved, not hollowed out, but carved out areas that kind of have that imprint on it, the peanut head imprints all over it. So I don't know what else to call it. This is the best description I have for that. So the Cthulhu head stuff. So I figure out the name of it, and maybe I'll be able to get somewhere. But right now I don't have a name, so we're gonna call it Peanut Heads until I get a name. And if the name's too hard to say, we're going back to Peanut Head. So, but yeah. So if I don't know if I get a look at it here. I know sooner or later. You kind of see it in the background there on that one. I think I'm really just like looking around here, trying to figure out really where I'm going, because this is when the forest really opens up. Like that first part through the village is a little linear, it's still pretty open, but this area is like super open, and this is where I make a mistake by trying to make a jump, and then I get turned around. I get quick flip upside down, and I see it's fucking ridiculous. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. Like really FromSoft. I really it looks like a monster I created in like 3rd grade on the notebook when I was boarding class. And then they make it look freaking awesome and cool. I mean, look how cool that monster is. It actually looks really cool. I'm trying to think of, there was a game I played, I don't know, it wasn't recently, well, it could have been pretty recently, where it was just a model of a bunch of snakes like that, and I can't remember what game I'm thinking of, not off the top of my head, but it was really close to that. Not the design, but like, it might have been like an RPG, now that I think about it. It's a crazy design. But yeah, serpents, definitely. No, fertility, healing especially. Because, like I said, think of our own, the cross for the medical cross symbol is definitely serpents. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head. This is where I kind of get on the backside. Look how backside of this thing. Look how creepy that is. Like, why? Why is one side of the tombstone normal and the other side is so weird? That's one of the questions. So I get clear deep sea rune here. The rune means deep sea and grants augmented resistance. Great volumes of water serve as a bulwark guarding sleep and an augur of the eldritch truth. So we talked about this last episode and kind of what all that meant. It might be leading. Remember, we saw that building in the distance and there was water there. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Because I don't know. I just know I'm going towards more water, and there's water everywhere all of a sudden, and big bodies of it, not like little lakes. No little lakes. So maybe it'll be the water temple from Ocarina of Time. Then I would ultimately quit this game. I would be like, you got too hard, guys. Got too hard and too annoying. The water temple of the true Dark Souls. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Just the enemies here are weird. I'm trying to wait till we get to that that one other enemy I want to talk about. We haven't got there yet, though. Boo. Boo. Then we got an enemy coming up, and then we got a ruin, and then we got some armor that we can talk about, and then I pretty much talked about everything else I wanted to. I'm trying to see what let's see. Talk about tombstones. Good. Talk about level design. Talk about those flowers. And they look like irises. If you find out what it really is, let me know. Here we go. Here we're about to reach them, right? Okay, so here's the enemies. I saw this and I like flipped shit. I was like, what the hell is that? I look at it and I'm like, what is that? Really, it stands out so much in this area because everything is such a dull like green or gray or like a very dull color. I missed it. I can't believe I missed that jump. This is what screws me, and this is why I get lost for a little bit here. But as you see, I see these guys and they are like just so weird. They don't fit anything. When I first saw them, I was like, oh shit, this game is gonna be about aliens, and it still may be. But I was like, oh my god, these are the most alien things I've seen so far in the game. Like, it just straight doesn't belong. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you see something, you're just like, that does not belong in this game. That just looks like some random person was like, put that there, and then that's it. So for right now, I'm just calling these like mushroom guys. Again, they're probably more than anything. I don't think they're aliens. I think more than anything, they're what can I like a transformation. And what really makes me think of that is what comes up here pretty shortly. And especially it's that yellow thing. But I mean, look at them. That's creepier. When I saw those guys, I was like, oh. Fighting these guys on my other character, they actually are the magic version of the other guys that we were just fighting. Anti-Clockwise Metamorphosis Rune. It's a lot of words. Very interesting one though. It says secret symbol left by Carl. Again, Carl. Twisted cross means metamorphosis. Rotating anti-clockwise is rune boosts stamina. Discovery of blood made their dream of evolution a reality. Metamorphosis. I didn't get to read the rest of that. Thanks, Chris. thanks. I guess past Chris for screwing future Chris over. But luckily, I have it kind of written over here, so we'll talk about it. So, metamorphosis and the excess and deviation that followed was only the beginning. That's what that last sentence said. So, very interesting. So it says discovery of blood made their dream of evolution a reality. So right off the bat, this rune has the most like scientific words in it than any other rune, right? Every other rune was just like blah blah blah, blood blah blah blah, great ones blah, all this like mystical stuff, and then this one's like evolution, reality, metamorphosis. Like it throws all these like crazy like not big words, but like really sciencey words at you that you would like discovery, right? Discovery, evolution, reality, metamorphosis, like all these like very scientific words at you. All of a sudden you're kind of like, well, where's all the science stuff coming from? So it says, like I said, discovery of blood made their dreams of evolution a reality. So is it the scholars, the Bergenworth scholars, or is it something else? I'm really starting to suspect that there's something else besides the scholars. Like we think right now we're at the beginning. Like Bergen, that looks such like something you can break. I'm still looking for that secret wall in this game. But Bergenworth scholars seem like they're not the beginning. Like there's something else. I don't know what it is. What could be. Those alien things kind of made me think that a little bit, but I'm not sure. It just seemed like there was something else. Right, and not the great ones. Like the great ones, well, I'll take that back. The great ones are obviously maybe the beginning, right, or something of something else like that. But then there's something, and then there's Bergenworth, and then Yarnum, and all that stuff. So what is it there? You know, what is it? Because I think that's the thing that is their evolution of reality and all this stuff. I think it's them that did that. I don't think they're talking about Bergenworth, but could be wrong. It just says, I asked a question, who discovery and whose dream, right? So metamorphosis and the excesses and deviations that followed was only the beginning. Scholars of Bergenworth are the creators of the labyrinth, right? Who created the labyrinth? That's my biggest question right now. It's not the great ones, because they're the ones stuck in it. So why would they create something and then stick themselves in it and then make themselves lost forever? Like, unless there's another great one out there who's actually a great one and wanted to do the world a deed and locked them all up in there. Could be a possibility. But maybe there's some other form of people or race or something else that existed. I mean, we're talking about long ago in this game world. We're talking about long ago that locked everything up and created the labyrinths themselves, right? And then they're kind of the ones that talking about this metamorphosis, because like I said, all of a sudden you get this kind of like language change in the ruin, and that's something I think is very, very interesting about that ruin, is that you go from, like, just like I said, talking about such not mundane stuff, but like just very simple things like blood ministration and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden you discovery, reality, evolution, metamorphosis. Like, that sounds like that to be something else, right? And not the scholars of Bergenworth, because they wouldn't talk like that, because they were still trying to figure out what was going on and what they were learning. This sounds like something from someone who already knows what's going on, already knows what they're doing. So that's why I think it might be the people who ever created Labyrinth. Hopefully this game talks about them sooner or later, but I'm not sure. So see, I see those two items up there, and I'm like, I know I can make that jump. So now, and then this is where I'm lost. I'm like, where the hell is that cliff at, though? Has to be back over there, right? But I'm just like, well, I'm gonna kill this guy real quick. He's gonna be a dig. These guys are super easy kills. You can catch them with that any long-ranged weapon. My other guy did it with the rifle spear. You can do it with the battle axe. I don't know about any of the other weapons. I think maybe the holy sword. You can stab them. And this next part, I have to put this in there. This has no lore relation at all, but this shit is hilarious if you backstab one of these pigs. It is hilarious. Look at this. Oh yeah, you got colon cancer. Like, it's so wrong looking. But I think when you play these games, it seems like even Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, FromSoft have a sense of humor. Like, those guys are pretty funny. So definitely laugh at the parts that they give you. Like the iris thing with the flowers, I think they just did that just to like be funny. I don't think they wanted any lore or anything like that related to it. They just wanted to put something out there that was a little bit of a connection and just kind of make you laugh, you know. But like that stuff like that is just hilarious. Like they had to have known that that's what that looked like. It just has to be. It made me crack up so hard, and I was like, thank you for bringing some laughter in this dark world you threw my character in, that you're throwing me in and beating me up over and over again. I get super naked here. My face was like all weird because I guess it was supposed to be dirty, and then I put on this like super out of place garment, like in this world. Like, you've got all this like hunter stuff, and you're kind of like a patriot kind of look to you, or very classy gentleman look, and then you get this thing that looks like something from a Batman villain. And I was like, what? So Willem kept 2 loyal servants back in Bergenworth. When they were sent into the labyrinth, they encountered the Elder Truth and went mad. One became the password gatekeeper, while Doors became a graveyard of the forest. So this is the robes of Doors. He says he had 2 servants, and they were loyal, and then they were sent into the labyrinth. So that's a little bit different, right? So maybe that other one isn't Lawrence, right? Because Lawrence seemed like he was going to go there, and Willem didn't want him to. So Willem may have sent these 2 servants here before, realized how horrible it was, and then they were loyal to the end. So Graveguard was loyal, and Password guy was loyal. He kept that door shut until someone finally figured out the old adage. So it's very interesting to see that even if they go mad or they go crazy, that they can still, if they have enough willpower, I guess, they're able to withstand and do their duty as whatever they were before. One thing I want to talk about this is what the hell is a grave guard? I tried to look it up, and I couldn't find anything. In fact, I found just stuff from like video games and comics about, like, you know, there was like a hero or a villain named Graveguard or something like that, but I couldn't figure out, like, I didn't know if there was, what I was really looking up was to see if there was an actual, like, maybe back in the day or whatever, there was an actual position called Graveguard and what their duties were and stuff like that, but freaking didn't find. I was thinking maybe Gravekeeper. That's a little different, right? When you guard something and when you keep something, that's 2 different things. Keeping it is just making sure it looks nice, and you're keeping it from being dirty and all that stuff, right? We have Gravekeepers. They exist. They just kind of clean up, you know, you put flowers on graves and stuff over time, those things need to be cleaned up. A grave guard, however, is not the same thing. A grave guard to me means that, are they guarding, to me, if you directly relate it to what it's saying they're guarding the graves, right? Are they guarding the graves from us, or is it the other way around? Are they protecting us from what's in the graves? Like, what, you know, why are they protecting from people? Because if this area is supposed to be blocked off by a password, right? and no one's supposed to be able to get in here, then they don't need to be protecting us. Or they don't need to be protecting the graves, right? Because no one should be in here to begin with. There are some monsters and stuff like that, so maybe they're protecting the graves from the monsters. But there shouldn't be any humans in here, so they're not protecting, you know, us from the monsters. So they're protecting the area, to me, from the monsters in the grave. But I, you know, like I said, I don't. There's no speculation on that because nothing comes out of the graves the whole time I'm in here. So I can't really, you know, speculate on that. But you know, it makes you think. What the hell's a grave guard? And like, what do they do? Like, what's the point? Like, why do they need to guard these, and why? Oh, I skipped it. I forgot. I should have been remembered. But remember when we saw those blue monster? I call them the blue mushroom monsters. The BMMs. My notes. This is exactly what I have under my notes. Blue mushroom monsters. I don't have any fucking idea. ... Like, they're just so confusing. Like, they're so out of place to me. The luminescence on them and everything just stick out like a sore thumb. And it's like they want you to think that they're unnatural in that area. I think is what they're going for. I don't want to say the word, like I said, I don't want to use the word alien because I don't want to put in the thoughts of, you know, they could be aliens. Not saying they can't be, just saying I didn't want to put that thought there. I just want to say something that seems more broad. So like they just want you to think that they're unnatural, that they're not part of that environment, right? Those snakes, you know, don't look like they're part of the environment, but they at least look a little more part than the goddamn purple mushroom guys. so I think that's what they were really trying to go for with that. Very, very interesting because I really want to know more about them and more about what they are. So hopefully in the other game, maybe in my other game, maybe I'll find out something more about them. If I do, I'll definitely talk about it in my next episode or any episode once I figure it out. This game is leading down a very, very weird path, but that's for sure. But guys, I will see y'all later. You get to see me walk and wave right here. If you guys have anyone want to discuss about anything, let me know. We can discuss it.